Why don't you just kind of get ready for the message, turn to your neighbor and say, I'm excited to receive all God has. To receive all God has. I believe this has been one of the most, I think, great starts to a year we've ever had as a church. Resolution or resolution. And just reminding ourselves that if we're wanting to make ourselves better people this year, we should focus more on making the world a better place. Rather than kind of being self-focused or internally focused, the charge and the challenge of this series is being to see how we can make the world a better place. And we've asked the question, simple question, it takes time to answer it though, what breaks your heart? What breaks your heart? As a team, just this last week, we did the exercise and went around our team and said, all right, we've asked the question now, what is your response? And it's slow to come by that response because once you start to answer that question, once you start to write down your answer to that question or to publicly declare your answer to that question, it starts to shape everything you do. And so let me ask you the question as we get going. Week 4, last week, it's going to be awesome. What breaks your heart? As I've answered that question for myself, I've thought back to when we first started Link Church. And I've thought about how my heart breaks to see people that don't know Jesus, people that feel like that story could never be their story. That story, that God story, that Bible is complicated, it's difficult to understand. People have only ever spoken in a language that's gone over my head. It breaks my heart to think that such powerful truth has been miscommunicated or at least over-communicated, and we haven't simplified or made easy access for people to enjoy God or to know His freedom or to discover His purpose in their lives. And so this is what breaks my heart. What breaks your heart? And so before I jump into today's message, I want to read a blog that I think summarizes so beautifully some of the heart that's in this house, which is you and I, by the way. And so it was written by Ross Lester, and he preached at Link back end of last year, a great communicator, and has now, him and his family have emigrated to take up a really amazing opportunity in Texas. And so exciting things for his family. But without needing to, he wrote a blog to comment on what he learned while he was here at Link Church. Just to say this, he's not from a church much like ours, and yet he felt God show him and give him insights into who we are, and he wanted to help people realize this is good. And so if it's okay, I'd like to kind of remind you who we are and what we're about here at Link Church through the eyes of somebody totally disconnected from our story. He says, here are 3 incredibly positive things I noticed at a recent gathering at Link Church. First, they bleed faith, hope, and optimism and zeal. He says, sometimes it feels like those of us in a reformed camp have lost our joy. He's talking about different church backgrounds, which actually makes no sense if you really believe the doctrine or the teaching of grace. He says, perhaps in an effort to combat some kind of shallow gospel, we've actually lost the joy of just preaching Jesus. The guys at Link shook that out of me. They have fun. They believe big. They rejoice well. I learned a lot from them in that space. Number 2, they're servant-hearted. Oh, I love this. Don't you think we have the best volunteers in the whole world? The servant culture amongst the staff and volunteers is amazing at Link. So much so that I would recommend, this is awesome, that people in volunteer leadership roles in other churches and businesses go and study some of their methods. From the second I walked onto that campus, I was aware of an army of volunteers doing all they could to welcome people and to engage them with the joy of the gospel. They set up, served well, prayed for us with people, and then stayed to clean up long after everybody else had left. Well done, guys. It's awesome. He just thought we should know this. He put it on his blog. Thousands of readers around the world getting a snapshot on what's happening here in Salt Rock. By the way, if you just moved to Salt Rock, there are big things happening out here. If you just moved to the North Coast, God is up to something, and it's awesome to have you here. And the last one he said was, they value beauty and creativity. In a world of ugliness of sin, true beauty is something that Christians should love and value. Link values this highly, and it rings through everything that they do. Their social media presence is excellent, their campus is beautifully done, and their services have an emphasis on visual aesthetics. I know that this won't be every church's cup of tea, but these guys do it very well, and it's highly effective. Friends, if you find yourself ever on the KZN North Coast sometime soon and you need a bit of a vitamin B shot of faith, then pop in and visit the boys and girls at Link Church. Isn't it good to be that church? I'm so grateful to be that church, and I'm so grateful that you and I together get to build something that people on the outside, even if they feel like they can't be, are welcomed into and are encouraged and refreshed. And if you're just visiting today, if someone brought you along, it's your first time in church, my hope, my prayer is that you would take something from God this morning, because here's what I've come to learn about Jesus. He has something for you. He asks nothing from you. He wants to fill you and feed you and restore you. And in that, you would adequately respond to the call of God in your life. Week 4 resolution, let's jump in. The title of my message is, The Wall Won't Build Itself. Tap your neighbor and say, it's not going to happen. The wall won't build itself. We talk a lot about, in church language, harvest time. Harvest time being that season of reaping what we've sown. If it's in business, it's that season of enjoying the profits of years and hours and pains, if you like, of building business, which is hard. You know, as young men and women, we aspire to some of the great leaders and business people around us, and we're like, man, I want to be that. Well, it's hard. There's something about building. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes persistence and perseverance. And then we speak about, but every now and again, what you've sown, you get to reap. Farmers will love this language. But you ask a farmer, is harvest time easy? It's not easy. It's awesome. It's receiving the hard yards that we've sown, but it's not easy. There are deadlines. I see some people, some farmers in the house. They're shaking their heads. They're letting me know, you are onto something. Preach it this morning. There are deadlines, there are timelines, there's labor that's running around, there's more urgency because now we need to get off what we've sown in the ground. It's hard, and so sometimes we glorify the harvest. Sometimes we make the harvest seem like this moment where we sit back and the heavens open up and money falls from the sky, or blessings fall on our laps. I always say to young couples getting married, if you're single and you're thinking about getting married, there's some good news for you. Great marriages are there for the taking. Just don't expect it to fall on your lap. And the married people were like, that is so good. Great marriages are there for the taking. We have a great marriage. It's not perfect, but it's blessed. We're excited. But it didn't fall on our laps. And we've learned some hard lessons. See, harvest is hard sometimes. We've been looking at the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah's heart broke for the city of Jerusalem. The thing I kind of have always enjoyed or been intrigued by this story is when you look at what was going on in Jerusalem, God's people had been exiled, they'd been kicked out of their hometown, and they were in exile, scattered across the land, and the Persians had taken back the city of Jerusalem, had come to God's people and said, you can go home now, and no one went home. Now, that surprises me when you've grown up in a culture where Jerusalem, it's like that thing. It's like, we do not leave Belida. No matter what you do, if people invite you to cross the Mgani River, go slow, all right? This is where we stay. This is our hometown. It's like you're losing your home now, disappearing into the farmlands, disappearing into the hills, disappearing into other parts of the country, which, let's be honest, they're awesome, but they're just not quite the same, all right? And so I'm just punting local. If you're online, just want to let you know, Belida is where God is really present at the moment, and it's just really exciting. It's like landing up in the middle of nowhere because someone kicked you out, and then someone coming knocking on your door one day and saying, hey, heads up, it's all good. You can go back now. But when you look back at what you've been kicked out of, it's broken down. No one's happy. Everyone's done. Everyone's over it. Let's be honest, friends. If we lost the joy of the people in this city, we wouldn't live here. It's the people that make the place. I mean, yeah, the sunrise is beautiful, but if you drove through and all the houses were dilapidated and there were no beautiful places to hang out and the beaches were ruined and the people had all left and everyone was grumpy, I'm thinking like you might just decide to stay where you are. This was what was happening with God's people. They'd been told, you can go back now. And they were like, we're okay. It's terrible back there. And Nehemiah saw this and he responded to 2 powerful questions every great leader should always answer. How are the people? How's the place? How's the people? How's the place? And Nehemiah saw that his people were in disgrace and the city was in ruins. He said, let's do something about that. I don't believe you can bias toward any one of those. Both are important. We're always looking after people here at Link Church. We're wanting people to grow. That's why I love small groups and growth track and areas that we've designed to help people grow. We care for people, but we're as equally concerned for and cared for the place, which is not just this building. It's the city of Salt Rock or Belita or the North Coast or Durban. We cared for the place. And so Nehemiah responds to the question. As you know, he was a cupbearer to the king. And he goes to the king and he says, is it okay to take kind of extended leave? King's like, how much? He's like, I'm not sure. I'm just going to kind of go for now. Imagine going to your boss, being like, you don't mind if I take some leave? Boss is like, what, 3, 4 days, 5 weeks? He's like, indefinitely. Keep paying me if you don't mind as well, because I'm going to need the money to do what I'm called to do. And off Nehemiah goes and gets on his horse, this levy preached, and it disappears to go and assess the damage of his home ground. And his heart breaks. And he goes back, and the rally cry is in Nehemiah 2:17, the message that, or the verse that's captured us in this series. And it says this in Nehemiah 2, verse 17. Then I said to them, you see the trouble we are in. He's talking to God's people. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been burned with fire. Come, he says, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, for we will no longer then be in disgrace. And so he says, let's create a space. Let's build back into the people and the place something of God's beauty and creativity and all the things Ross Lester suggested about this awesome church we get to call home. Let's do this thing. Let's rebuild this thing so that all God's people would have a place to come home. And I think to myself, this is the joy of building church. We're just doing this so that others would come home. And Nehemiah goes about it, and he gets there and he starts setting up all the guys. And if you read Nehemiah 1 and 2, you're going to be like fired up. You're going to be thinking like business. Let's just build a business. Family, let's get married and have 20 children. You know, like all the big dreams. And it was my dream. Okay, 5. The more, the better. Someone bumped into a friend, a guy by the name of Mark Driscoll, once in a shopping center, and he had 5 kids, and he was a very public figure. And they said to him, Mark, you're a disgrace. He said, I'm sorry? He said, you're a disgrace. You got 5 children in a world where there are so many of us. He says, yes, but the rest of them are terrible. I figured out how to add some good ones. I thought that was a good response to a terrible suggestion. But whatever the dream is, I want to build, we want to go, we want to make it awesome, we want to make South Africa the best place it's ever been. If you read Nehemiah 3, it gets into some details and you just get lost in them. It's like this guy and that girl and this thing and that thing. It's like just digits and numbers and logistics, and you're like, whoa, this looks complicated. I like the let's rebuild thing. This looks complicated. Sometimes answering that question, what breaks your heart, is complicated. Sometimes the call of God in our lives to respond to that question of what breaks your heart is complicated. Maybe you are battling to answer that question. What breaks my heart? Maybe you've listened to this series, like I love the idea, but I don't know the answer to that question. Or maybe you do know the answer to that question, but you don't know what to do about what breaks your heart. Today, I'm going to help you through Nehemiah 3, the least likely space to find purpose, see how to answer the question what breaks your heart, but more importantly, what to do as a response to that question, what breaks your heart. Let's check it out. Nehemiah chapter 3, beginning at verse 28. 28. It says this, above the horse gates, the priests made repairs, each in front of his own house. Now, there's been a whole list of people doing certain things, various things. You get on that wall, you get on this thing. Hey, you build the accounting service, you go into law. I'll get onto building construction. I'll look after families. I'm passionate about teaching. It's like, all right, everyone's doing this thing. And then apparently there's some people who live in the city that aren't sure what to do, because those on the outside are just getting allocated tasks. They just be like, you just get onto this thing. Those on the insides are feeling like, man, we like what's going on. We like the fact that the walls are coming up, but what do we do? And so he says to priests that live in the city, he says, they start to make repairs, each, this is some good news, each in front of their own house. Tap your neighbor and say, it's right in front of you. And next to them, Zadok, son of Immer, made repairs opposite his house. What's going on here? Now the city is starting, the walls being rebuilt. It took 52 days, by the way. It was miraculous. Amazing what we can get done when no one cares who gets the credit. And they're building this beautiful city, and they're raising its walls. And some guys on the inside are feeling like, I like the idea of this whole thing, Nehemiah, and your plea to fix God's people and the disgrace, but I'm confused. I don't know what to do with what breaks my heart. What do I do next? He's like, well, you're a priest, and you look good, and I like where you live. Why don't you just build your wall? Why don't you just build that one just in front of you over there? And so the priest starts building his wall. Now, I'm imagining the priest not to look much like what we would see in a builder. In those days, certainly priests would wear what you would imagine in the very traditional churches, big robes, maybe big hats. They wouldn't typically be dressed for a day on a construction site. And he said, that's cool. Not cared about your occupation or what you're wearing. Just start to build the wall in front of you. That'd be helpful. Thanks. Everyone's up to something. It'd be great if you could just attend to what's in front of you. And then it says Zadok. son of Immer, made repairs opposite his house. You got to ask the question, he's just telling us the person's name. We know nothing about them. Do you think Zadok even cared about the fact that the wall was going up? He had a place to stay. He was there ready. I don't know. We're unsure of the details of the story. My hunch is he wasn't as excited as the person who had been invited in on the outside. He had been here for years. Link Church has been his home for years. My seat, that's my seat. Sunday, that's my seat. I've been doing this thing for days. I've been helping. I've been serving. This is just what I am. Zadok, who knows what Zadok was? But those on the outside, while they're passionately building what they never used to have, sometimes we need fresh faith in the house to remind us of what God's done in our hearts. We need those people that walked in unlikely. The friend we brought, they're like, I don't like church. That was not so bad. I feel like God's speaking to me. Amen. And someone's like, how can that person be in? You don't even know anything about them. Jesus is like, I like people unlike me. Sometimes we need to get fresh faith in the house. And Zadok, I don't know. And Zadok's just in the routine. And so he says, Zadok, I'll tell you what. Just build what's opposite you. Next to him was Shemaiah. And I have a go at these names, but they is not where you would be looking for the top 10 list of kids' names 2018. Shechaniah. The guard at the east gate made repairs next to him. Hananiah, son of Shelemiah. And Hanun, the sixth son of Zalaph, repaired another section next to them. Meshullam, son of Berekah, feel like I'm doing good, made repairs opposite his living quarters. Now, we all want to change the world. I certainly do. But sometimes God is calling us to just build in front of our own house. God, one day when I'm big, I'm gonna, the boy dream, the girl dream, that beautiful thing we see in our children. I ask my girls all the time, what do you want to be when you get big? I love their response. Dad, most of them are saying, I want to be a pastor. I'm like, we're doing something right, that's working, But they're saying, I want to be teachers, and I want to be, Mackenzie wants to write plays for Hollywood, and it's beautiful, the imagination and the dreams and the big picture. And so I'm saying to them, well, then tend to what's in front of you now. I think as a church and as a community living in Belito, if you ask anyone, how's Belito, they'll tell you, big things for this place. And I believe it, man. I believe it. I was preaching at a conference in Durban these last 2 days, Anthem Church in Durban North. And I can just see, I can sense it. There's a movement in Durban. There's an excitement. People are passionate. There are big things coming. I know Dubai, a consortium, have just bought out Virginia Airport. They've just signed the Beachwood Golf Course, and they're transforming that whole coastline. They're linking them Schlanga Promenade to the Durban Promenade. I don't know if you know this, guys, but there's exciting things happening in Durban. So what do, God? There's all this stuff around me. God, I want to be part of the big picture. Well then, build the wall in front of you. And sometimes we're so concerned about what everyone else is doing that we fail to build the wall that we've been called to right in front of us. He didn't care about occupations. He didn't assign people based on occupations. Oh, you're a teacher. Oh, you're a businessman. Oh, you're a lawyer. Oh, you're a doctor. There's no hierarchy when it came to rebuilding a wall where people would come home. He just assigned them. I love it in the church. You can have varying wealth brackets, varying backgrounds, varying cultural backgrounds. And God is no respecter of how highly ranked you are in society's eyes. He just says, would you build the wall that's in front of you? Occupation, convictions, or lack thereof, it didn't influence their involvement. They just built what was in front of their house. And you know what? When they didn't know where to work, they just worked in what was right in front of them. When we don't know what to do with what breaks our hearts, sometimes we don't even know the answer to that question, what breaks our hearts. We just build and just start with what's right in front of us. Dill, I'm a student. I'm in grade 10. That's fantastic. How big's your class? 22 people. That's right in front of you. Who do you sit next to? James. Have you said hello to him? Once or twice. Not really my best friend. Good time to become friends. He's right in front of you. Just build your wall. Dill, I would like to be a leader one day. I would like to lead that school. I would dream of being head girl or head boy. That's fantastic. Don't lose that dream. It's clearly in your heart. You know what you should do right now? What, Dill? How do I do this? Build what's right in front of you. Love on James. Why? Because James will tell Julie and Julie will tell Jane, and all the guys will start talking about you as you started to love on those right in front of you and built a wall where others felt safe around you. That's true leadership. And whether you're the head boy or head girl won't make a difference. People want to be led by you. Dill, I want to build a big business. Fantastic. Go and read the books. Go and talk to the greats. Go and get advice. But you know where you should start? Just tell your wife it's never going to take her place. Just let her know that that wall is always going to have your attention. Let your kids know that their sport will be the thing you look forward to. I mean, obviously you're not going to make every game. We'd hate to put that on each other, but let them know it counts. And as you get to your business, talk to that person that opened the door for you. Thank them. Why? Big dreams, but there's a wall right in front of us. Right in front of us. So, let me ask you this question. What's in front of you? What's in front of you, Link Church? What's in front of you as you go back home? What's in front of you as you wake up tomorrow morning? What's in front of you as you encounter the relationships and the friendships God has given you? And can I just say, if you're new to the church story, or feel like this is all a bit new, or feel like you're not quite sure how this whole thing works together or where it all fits in, I want to tell you, sometimes people like you build more effectively than those of us that have been doing this for years. Because you realize there are things in front of you and you just get on with it. What's in front of you? The reason I love this idea is because this is my story. I want to come sit by you guys. Is that all right? I just feel like telling you a story this morning. I went to Stellenbosch, finished high school. I did double science and accounting at high school because everyone did double science and accounting if you wanted to go somewhere special at high school. And so I did it. All my friends did it, and we signed up for Stellenbosch. And I went down to Stellenbosch, and the wheels fell off. But I stuck with my degree, and it took me a couple of years extra, I'll be honest, but I stuck with it. And somewhere in the middle of it all, God got a grip of my heart. I wanted to be a CA, and because CAs made big money, right? And so I wanted to be a CA. And so I was pursuing this thing, and God got a grip of my heart. And I remember having said yes to Jesus one night at a small church, or at that time, a very exciting church in Stellenbosch. And I went home and I typed a mail to my dad. I said, Dad, God's transformed my life. And sorry about wasting a few years, but I'm about to pick it up again and do something about it. He replied, he said, that's fantastic. Thank you for letting me know where you're at. That's awesome. All the best for exams. I said, thank you. I went into my exam and said, Jesus, you know what's happening right now. I'm on your team now. Now you're going to make me win. And so I went into the exams. And I finished up my exams. Man, I was bouncing around. I couldn't wait to get home and get on with the God purpose in my life. And I got home and I got my results and I had failed my exams. I said, Jesus, that wasn't the deal. I even told my dad I'm coming back stronger. What's up here? And anyway, long story short, I had to work really hard and I had to fly back for my exams the next year. And I had to figure it out myself. Harvest is hard. You want to get the degree, you got to work for it. And so I got my degree. I finished my accounting honors and kind of came home and started working for Jesus. I started working in the area, and I felt God say to me, go and serve the Anglican church. Now, half the reason, good or bad, that I had strayed from church is that I was somewhat uninspired by the church. I won't be specific to a people. It's not about the people. It's about the process. Sometimes processes call us out of actually a relationship with people. And I was uninspired by it, and I was like, God, you sure about that? Do you want to check that one again? I said, yeah, I'd like you to go back to the Anglican church and help them. So I went back to the Anglican church. There was a couple there, Rob and Sue Taylor, amazing friends of ours. They married Tess and I. We started chatting and becoming friends, and we started enjoying the Anglican church and started to ask that question, what broke my heart? I didn't know the answer. I honestly didn't know the answer. I wanted to be an accountant, now I wanted to be Reinhard Bonnke, but I couldn't speak German, and I'd never been to Nigeria. I don't know what broke my heart. I was clueless. And so Rob said, well, what can we start with today? What can you do? I said, I don't know. He said, how about an Alpha course? I was in Mark Slev and Kath Slev's home group at the time. We said, how about an Alpha course? And we had never done an Alpha course, heard a bit about it, and we were like, let's do an Alpha course. I don't know what broke my heart, but he suggested an Alpha, so I did it. We led an Alpha course. There were like 10 leaders. We had about 70 people in Belito sign up, young adults. We were like, this is awesome. I mean, the truth is I'd never actually been excited about doing Alpha courses. I was just building the wall that was in front of me, if you want to know the story. And so we did the Alpha course, and about 70 or 80% of those people gave their lives to Jesus, and we started to become friends, and we started to build the evening service, and I started to get involved in worship. Did worship break my heart? No, I don't know. I just wanted to be doing something. And so I just built what was right in front of me, and I picked up a guitar, and I learned how to play music, and I wasn't that great, but I was building. And then he asked me one Sunday, would you preach? I'm like, well, I never thought about being that guy. Yeah, I'll give it a shot. Friday afternoon, I phoned him. I said, I can't do this thing. He's like, my friend, you're doing it. I'm like, all right, let's build the wall. And so we built the wall. And the Anglican church became our best friends. And the leaders changed, and new leaders came in, and we shared our dream of planting Link Church. If you'd asked me when we moved back to Ballito, what breaks your heart, I would never have said the local church. It didn't. In fact, I wrote a thing when I left Stellenbosch. My dream is to create an organization that helps pastors lead their churches better. I don't want to be the pastor. Like, don't sign me up for that. But I do want to help them. They look like sometimes it's hard. And by serving the pastors and by serving the people, my heart started to break. I mean, there were other guys doing great things. They were building big businesses, and some of my friends had gone on these secondments overseas, and others had gone into full-time church work, and they were now preaching. And I wasn't doing any of that. I was doing nothing. I was helping people pack away weights at the gym, the locker room, the good old gym, the locker room. I was packing away weights, making sure no one left their stuff in a mess, just so that other people could come and train. And then on the weekends, we were building the wall of the Anglican church, which we didn't know what we were just doing. We were just building what was in front of us. And God gave us a dream, and Rob and Sarah Joblin came into our lives. They said, this dream is worth pursuing, and that helped me realize my heart had now broken for the church that I'd been serving. And we planted Link Church. It was 10 years ago, by the way, in July. And we started to reach people that were unlike us, just like Alpha. Never thought I'd do that. And we started to preach a message in a way. People still come to me, preached an Anthem Church yesterday, came to me afterwards. It's not about me, but I love the fact that this is what they're saying. And they said, you know what? It was like an architect plan. I never knew what they were describing in the house until the architect presented the plan. I never knew what God was talking about in that scripture until He just mapped it out for me so beautifully. He gave me such detail, such context, such understanding. And we started to package in simple, creative, inspiring, beautiful ways the gospel of Jesus. Why? We were just building our wall, and God was breaking our heart. So can I ask the question again? What's in front of you? And maybe you're sitting there and you say, Dill, honestly, like, as you say all this, I don't know. I've got business and I've got family and I'm going to do all that, but I feel like there's more. Well, then I would encourage you to help us build this wall. Help us build this wall. Because much like the walls were significant for the city of Jerusalem, the church is significant for the city of the North Coast. In fact, Jesus said this in Matthew 5. I want to read this. It's powerful. He says this. He says, Matthew 5:14, you're the light of the world. The light of the world, in other words, without it, it's dark. No one can see. You're the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. I never used to think this when I just started doing Alpha courses, but God's broken my heart to become this church. You're the light of the world, a town on a hill that cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. What do I do when I don't know what breaks my heart? What do I do when I do know what breaks my heart, but I don't know what to do? You just build the wall that's in front of you, but I don't know what that is. Well, then you help build the wall that's shining light on the earth, the local church. That's all we did. There are people in this church today who are a product of that. We're just going to do Alpha. I'm just going to put my hand up to serve in Kids Church. Don't really know why. Just feel I want to be a part of something bigger. Just going to say yes. Just going to join Kingdom Builders Ministry. I mean, it's this ministry for business people that believe they have the heart to give over and above tithes and offerings, to expedite the vision of the local church, to see cities light up under the gospel of Jesus. I don't know why. I'm going to give it a go. If there's nothing that truly breaks your heart, if you're unable to answer this question, come help us build. what's right in front of us because we have a city we need to light up. We say it like this: come and help us flip the switch. Come and help us flip the switch on marriages. Come and help us flip the switch on the marriage that's falling apart and no one's there leaning in, inviting them into a community, which is where true life happens and healing takes place. Come and help us invite those people. Come and help us serve our kids, the next generation. Looking for purpose, looking for excitement. Come and help us flip the switch, turn the light on, help them see what God has called them to. I want you to see, friends, as important as the wall was for Jerusalem, the church is to Southern Africa. And our responsibility is Matthew 5, to flip the switch, to start building what God has put right in front of us, to create safety for people, community for people, life for people. John 10:10, life. The church should be the most abundant, life-giving place on planet Earth. There's a spot for you here at Link Church. Just like there was for me at the Anglican Church, and didn't make perfect sense, but I just decided to give it a go. There's a spot for you. There's a spot for you. Maybe it's that your heart breaks for children. You're not sure how to pursue it. You're not sure where to go. Well, help us serve the next generation. Maybe your heart breaks for community. Maybe you love hosting people in your home. You're like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to build the wall. I don't know what God's called me to. I don't know what breaks my heart. Or what's in front of you? Well, I've got a beautiful home. I love having people there. Open it up. Flip the switch. Turn the light on. You'll be surprised how many people, their lives change. Their hearts come alive just by being in your presence. Maybe you're like a socialite. Like my friend Dubs. He's like Dory from Finding Nemo. He's like, how are you doing over here? You doing good? I want to meet you over here. How are you doing over here? You doing well? You had a good day? Awesome. Where are we going? I'll tell you what, he'll teach anyone how to handle people. Maybe you're like, as he was saying that, that's me. Maybe the husband just nudged their wife and like, that's just like you. Maybe it's the other way around. I don't know. But if you're social, join our host team. I know there are walls to build out there, and there's a story unfolding, and there's the business, and there's the dream, but there's one right in front of us. And when we do it, we flip a switch and we turn on a light, and suddenly someone that arrived having a terrible day, feeling horrible, feeling full of pain and frustration, arrives to you, the social person, the happy person, they're excited to see you person at the gate and at the front doors and then upstairs and behind the coffee, and they go home and they'll be like, I don't even care about the preach. I met the most amazing people. Friends, this is how we flip the switch. What do you do when you don't know what breaks your heart? What do you do when you don't know what to do with what breaks your heart? You build what's right in front of you. You build what's right in front of you. I'm passionate about helping people this year not only know God, but find freedom. Find the freedom of serving a cause greater than your own. To discover your purpose, passionate about helping you discover your purpose this year. What is it? What is it that breaks you? What is it that stirs you? And as we find freedom and discover our purpose, I know that this church and this place and you people, we're going to make a difference in this city. And maybe like Nehemiah, I don't know, just maybe, we will rebuild the walls of people's hearts that have come down, of families that have been broken, of businesses that are in ruins, of economies and societies and backstabbing and gossip and relational destruction. We will together flip the switch, friends, by building just what's right in front of us. Put some walls back up in the city so that people like you and I can come home. Maybe you're sitting here and you're going, that's why I love this church. Because I had a place to come home. That wasn't me. You know who that was? That was the priests and Zadok and Shalom and Shekai and H and K and all those other funny things that just decided to do something with what was in front of them. May we be that church. May we shock this world. May we imagine a better North Coast city, not because of development, but because of God's divine grace flowing through our lives. Stand with me this morning.